Hi, I'm Nikki,
Hi, I'm Kat.
and we are Cat and Mouse Astrology. Welcome to the new moon in Pisces, March 2nd, 2022. Wow.
So dreamy.
Yeah, we've got a big, powerful moon. It's really interesting and very much connected with Jupiter.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about this moon. It looks pretty cool. I'm going to pull it up so we can take a look at it
What's the chart?
in my chart. And then I'll look at it in a different chart so we can see things kind of move forward. I like this because I can highlight stuff, but
Yeah.
so there's lots of different interpretations for what these archetypes mean. And there's lots of different types of astrology. And I think we don't give any explanation here, but I'm gonna real quick and probably won't again, but
Yeah.
we're sort of doing a combination between mundane astrology and sort of looking at world affairs and then seeing how that impacts people's individual lives, especially as how it relates to, where these fall in the houses of your natal chart. So those are the two kind of focuses that we're having here, but there's, lots of different astrology and of kinds of astrology. And I've recently been watching these videos called The Changing of the Gods.
Mm.
And it's all about the Uranus Pluto transformations that are really fascinating. And that's evolutionary astrology. That's looking at how astrology impacts, the world and people in the world through time over long periods of time. Fascinating. Have you seen any of it, Kat?
I saw the first video and I really liked the graphic of the solar system moving through space and the spiraling of the planets around the sun and doing their own thing. I really like that graphic. It was like a DNA kind of thing. It almost looked like a double helix, but with like all the planets and the sun in the center.
Yeah, I thought it was striking too. I just watched the 8th episode and I recommend it. Is like, wow, you've got a few hours left to watch it. It's worth taking a little time for. It goes through all the ways that Pluto and Uranus have together transformed technology at these very specific times through history. It's based on Richard Tarnas's book, Cosmos and Psyche.
I liked the way that he pointed out that he was not saying that these were causal links, that they were correlations, that there's just like a mapping out of an overlapping of these things happen at the same time these things happen. It doesn't mean they cause these things. It just means that they're correlated. And I think that we have a lot of trouble with the difference between correlation and causation.
Exactly. And I think that is something to remember, the old ancient saying, as above, so below, communicates, in my mind, reflection.
Yeah.
Not causation. We see our reflection in a pool. It is not us, but it reflects back to us what we are. So it shows what's interesting is how in this Cosmos and Psyche, how he tracks the changes and how those changes are reflected on Earth. Mm-hmm. That's how I view it. But I'm sure there's other ways of viewing it. But I completely agree. Causation is because there's too many different ways that the archetypes can play out.
Right.
And that's what I find interesting about what's going on here is, when we look at the mundane astrology, I can't help but think about this in correlation in how it relates to what's going on in Ukraine now and Russia.
Do you want to go off of the chart while we talk about non-chart things?
Sure. Sorry.
That's okay.
Stopping the share. Yeah. I can't help but think about how these archetypes impact, impact us personally. And depending on where they fall in your personal chart, we're not all in Ukraine, but I bet a lot of us are feeling both Ukraine's pain and angst, and a lot of us are also dealing with our own issues that have to do with Mars and Saturn, or Mars and Venus conjunct in the sky.
Mars and Venus and Pluto, yeah.
Right. Now we're going to get beyond Pluto, like in a couple days. Mars and Venus are going to have that third conjunction with Pluto. Venus has already gone across and back across, and now this is the third and final going over of Pluto for quite some time. There's 2.5 year cycle for Mars, so Mars won't be back to Pluto for 2.5 years. But a Mars-Pluto conjunction is a big deal. That's not a positive thing. Mars does not have positive significations in a general way. Energy, sure, sexual power, yeah, but Mars is in general a malefic, and it may be ameliorated by Venus, but there's other interpretations too. So the Mars, Venus, Pluto is, I think, a really big explosive thing happening right now. And at the same time, we've got the beauty of Jupiter coming into conjunction with the sun, and there's a sextile there, and Jupiter's about to hit Neptune, and it's in Pisces. That is really some lovely, gorgeous stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you think about these contrasting archetypes?
Well, I'm a little weird about Pluto. I really love Pluto. And so I tend to lean towards like, oh, Mars is conjunct Pluto. Yay, that'll bring good things to Mars. Just because I think the underworld is super powerful. Yeah. In terms of a purification process. I like to think of Pluto as a purification process. And the wealth that comes from the deep, Like Pluto as a god was, yes, the underworld, but there's such a difference between Pluto and Hades in the imagination. Like we think of Hades more like we might think of Mars in a lot of ways. That like aggressive, devilish archetype. But Pluto is different in the sense of it's more like the precious stones that we pull out of the ground.
Certainly can be. I mean, you feel good after you throw up.
Yes.
When when things erupt, when things are pulled from the deep, there can be a release of tension that was there before.
Right. Yeah. So it might be like hell while you're in it, and then you'll come out the other side and feel better.
And what about is it the Persephone myth, where I'm also thinking of, I can't, going into the underworld, where she's drugged into the underworld by Pluto, but once a year she gets to come out and visit her mother, Ceres. So it's it's the marriage of Venus with the underworld, the marriage of Venus and Pluto, and how Mars fits in there. That is also, there's a mythical story here that is archetypically enacted in some way when we get these 3 planets together, the Mars, the Venus, and the Pluto. Just Venus and Pluto, we get that marriage of Persephone going down into the underworld, right? But with Mars there's another element that's involved in this. It makes me think of fairy tales like, the prince rescuing the princess from the dragon.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So there's some rich archetypes involved in this Mars, Venus, Pluto. What else can you think of with Mars, Venus, Pluto? What else do we get there?
Well, it's in Capricorn. We talked a lot about this last time, right?
Yeah, it's been there for a long time.
We talked about the Scorpio South Node.
Right.
Last time. Yeah. So yeah, you would want to look at like me personally, this is happening in my 10th house. So for me, I think it's like the beginning of a new cycle in my 10th house as it's leaving my 10th house. Like I've been in this long process of career and otherworldly things, and this huge transition over the past several years. And it's all leaving that and moving into my 11th house. So I would encourage people to look at that shift from Capricorn to Aquarius.
Excellent points. Yeah, that's where the change is really, we're not going to see this because this isn't a Uranus transformation. This is a Pluto transformation. So this isn't a quick change. This is a deep, long, where you turn back and you look down the road and you go, wow, I didn't realize I'd come so far.
Right.
That's a long way down there now. And I'm way up here. So I think we are going to, on a personal level, see some real transformation. Yeah, as Venus and Mars both move into Aquarius in the next couple days.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to conjunct at 0 degrees. And that's right where the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction was in 2021, when everything left all the ugliness. I think what we're getting here, and I've heard Rick Levine, another major astrologer, talked about this as being such a huge change because everything's leaving Capricorn, Kat, just like you said. It's not just you personally. Pluto will be left alone in Capricorn without any other planets touching it, except for the moon, for a year. Nobody's going to be back there to whack on, except for the luminaries. There will be no other planets having impact, conjunction with Pluto again. And everything's been, drug into the deep by Pluto over the last couple years. But now Pluto is at the end of Capricorn, and we've got everything else moving beyond now. I think this is a reflection of a big change.
Yeah. Let's talk about what the symbol is for that right now.
Oh, let's do.
Okay, so 27 Capricorn, a conjunction between Pluto, Venus, and Mars, a mountain pilgrimage.
Ooh. I like that.
Mountain
I
pilgrimage.
have the second symbol written down on our thing, but I think it's good to look at both of them. Tell me a little bit about what you think of that. Yeah, no, that is
Well, a
the same.
mountain,
It is the
well,
same.
it's a place of power. It's a journey.
Right.
It often involves sacrifice and hardships. And there's a distinct spiritual element to it. Like you're seeking spiritual transformation or spiritual communion or spiritual nourishment when you're on a mountain pilgrimage. And the mountain itself, as an animist, is a being in and of itself. So you are probably going for some sort of wisdom to be gained from that spirit of that mountain. So it could suggest like, pay attention to the wisdom of other beings.
Right. Yeah, the mountain and the symbolism of a wise old man on a mountain, comes into my head as you talk about that. And why do we go visit that wise old man on the mountain? Is we're seeking answers to questions, or some kind of revelation, or some healing of our inner spirits.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting. And when I got the Sabian symbol, it is the same 27 Capricorn, climbing the steep steps leading to a mountain shrine.
Mm-hmm.
It was this language that came out of that one. Same thing, but it also gives you that perception of this is not easy.
Right.
This actually, it's work to go and visit, to go on a pilgrimage. And I can't help again but think of the Ukrainians fleeing their home. That's not quite a pilgrimage, but it may end up being symbolically in the long term a kind of pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Depending on how this plays out in the long run.
Yeah.
Well,
The pilgrimages usually have an end.
Right.
If you return home, so we can hope.
Right. Right. We can
all refugees everywhere that they get to
Yes.
return home.
Yes. Yeah, let's take a look at this again, or for the first time maybe. So I've got this new moon as bringing us big revelations. having to do with Pluto there, revealing itself as you've talked about it first there, Kat. And, you know, everything that, all the little words that I put on this relate more to the Pluto, Venus, Mars than the other things. So we'll have to kind of flesh out those other, you know, we've got a triple conjunction going on.
Yeah, I didn't even see that Mercury Saturn thing going on.
That's why I see this as a really big deal. You know, there's not a lot of aspects because everything is like in its own little bubble, and the aspects are ease. You know, these are sextiles. So, you know, there's an ease with which whatever is happening here is happening.
Right.
So it's happening.
A support system.
Right, right. There's a support system here. Exactly. So again, with the Pluto, you know, volatility bubbles up from the past or from the subconscious and impacts values. There's a way of looking at it. Mars and Pluto is a signification for some, like I said, some very negative things. But as you said, you know, what I've got somebody who's using a dirt moving machine outside my window today. So if you hear a bunch of crunches and, you know, they're digging down. They're digging down to replace the sewer pipe. Sewage is down underneath there, and they're going to have to unearth it and beautify it, clean it up. And it's taking a lot of energy. There's a bunch of men. I mean, they're all men. Mars, notice, is a symbol of man. And Venus is a symbol of woman. But there is a beautification going on in the yard next door to me. And it's very Plutonic. Right? So there's something bubbling up from the past, and it's poop. It is impacting values, and that's why they're having to clean it up.
Yeah.
This could be internal or external. It could be in the bigger world or in our own individual lives. But I think that everybody has something like this going on wherever they have their Capricorn house.
Right. There's something shitty that can turn into something beneficial.
Right. We can fertilize with that. We can clean
That's right.
this up, and the lawn will grow well this spring.
That's right.
That's right.
Both and.
Both and. That's right. Now, I've also got the lovers unite and passion transforms the vision.
Love it.
You know, that's a hope. Again, I have to talk about what's going on in the mundane world, which is Ukraine and Russia. The lovers uniting is also a potential symbol of war. Or the spoils of war could be represented by Venus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize till doing a little bit of reading that Ukraine is loaded with the kind of stuff that Russia would love to dig for in the ground. Pluto.
Oh.
Yes, all kinds of minerals, especially important minerals for, you know, making technology. That's one of the sanctions, because they don't have the technology stuff. Having Ukraine is a really big deal. It's not just Mother Russia. It has to do with stealing things of value. So there's that.
All impurity is bad.
Yeah. And there's also a signification from the past. And I'm not an expert on this, so I'm repeating this from other astrologers I've listened to, of Pluto and Mars and nuclear weapons.
Yeah. Uranus is involved. Can you scroll up on the chart?
Yep. And let me make it a little smaller so we can see the whole thing. So that's the worst case scenario there, is that we've got some real, you know, ugly things going on in the minds of an autocrat or some autocrats.
Yeah, multiple. I was gonna say.
There's more than one involved.
There's lots of oligarchs all over the world. They're not limited to Russia.
Right. But there is the one with the largest castle who wants to be the king of the world. And that person has done a whole lot to destroy democracies around the world over the last 30 years, since the fall of the Soviet Union, not quite 30 years. So we have here's our Saturn-Pluto return. You know, the one of the biggest configurations with the Saturn-Pluto square is it's a repeat from the fall of the Soviet Union. So this is a major configuration for the East, as well as the West. We're all involved in this small planet together. So when anybody mentions nuclear war, you know, we're the other major nuclear planet, nuclear country, though many have nuclear weapons right now. So anyway, that's an ugly thing going on. And back to the positive, well, we've got the Jupiter, Sun, Moon.
Yeah, and that's the one that's in relationship to Uranus, which is why I think like the Pluto, Mars, Venus thing is in a sextile to Neptune, which brings about the delusions.
Yep.
And I lean towards like everybody looking at this is operating under their delusions. Everyone is propagandized. I don't care what country you live in. You cannot necessarily believe, unless you're talking to like historians at university systems whose only job it is to pay attention to these things all the time. Like, I don't really care what anybody has to say because you're just like, your like newfound foreign policy degree like means nothing to me. Like, you don't know. None of us know. We're not paying attention. Right. And so I think that like we're all in this state of delusion about what's going on in the world. And we really can't know because it's all mediated through these screens.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I took notes when I watched this last changing of the gods things with the Pluto Uranus configuration. And
yeah,
what's really striking to me is, you know, like I said, it was the 89 when we had the last one. And that was
the fall of the Berlin Wall.
That was the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fall of the Soviet Union, which is a big deal. And 2007 was the most recent one. 2007 is the one we're dealing with now that just ended. And that when I saw all this that happened during 2007, 1 year, the year 2007, do you know what happened?
What happened?
iPhone, computers.
Wait, say it again. I got cratchy.
Oh, sorry. In 2007, everything happened. We got the iPhone, handheld computers for the first time. We got Facebook for the first time. We got Twitter for the first time. We got software that combined large computers together into big computer networks for the first time. Google created the Android computer system. YouTube was created. Airbnb was created. Kindle reader to read your book on your phone was created in 2007. A cognitive computer, the first AI was created 2007. Change.org was introduced in 2007. Solar energy, 2007. Fracking, 2007. The internet, cloud, 2007. Non-silicon transistors, 2007. These were game changers that the people out there that look at this stuff are saying this was the biggest technological change since Gutenberg's invention of the printing press.
And that was Saturn square Uranus?
No, this is Pluto.
Pluto
and Uranus. Again, like you're talking about digging from the deep, that's where all the, fracking, energy oils fueled all these,
mother
technological
fracker
changes and stuff. But, the other thing that we got in 2007 was the surveillance state, Pluto. Cyber war, Pluto. Computer viruses created on purpose and sent around the world, Pluto. Data collection, unknown to the people having their data collected and used against them, Pluto. Big data and Big Brother getting together in the same bed.
Well, of course they would be. Like, it's like they weren't doing stuff like that already with the technology that we already had. But now there's more technology because you're carrying it around in your pocket, and you got like a little beep beep beep. I'm right here.
Yeah, but the deal was it didn't happen before 2007. It all happened with that Pluto-Uranus conjunction. And now we're about to end that conjunction and then deal with the fallout until the next conjunction of all these both positive and negative technological changes. But back to what we were talking about, you know, there is direct evidence that Russia is behind the cyber war that's been going on since 2007. They've interfered in the elections of 5 or more different countries, not just ours.
Okay, okay, just a second though. I have to say that the US has also interfered in the election of probably more than 5 countries.
True, but we did not go in and take over them like Crimea. We didn't do
Yeah,
what
we
Hitler
do,
did.
Mickey.
We did it
We put our own
plutonically.
puppets in power. Like, people
Right.
can hate Russia as much as they want, but I don't think that the US is that different.
Well, I
Just gonna say.
do. I think it's an important argument to have, whether or not we post this. I do think it's completely different. And I think it's completely different because I believe that what Putin is doing now is full on Nazi, that Trump was only his minion, and all of Trump's people are just paid for by Putin. He's the richest man in the world. He paid for Lushenko. He paid for the Ukraine government that was just voted out and replaced by Zelensky. He's paid for all these dictators to go into these places that he could not personally go in and conquer, like he did the Crimea.
And
He's
the US does
doing
the
Hitler.
same thing. The US does the same thing.
But we're doing it covertly.
Well, so what's the difference? It's not covert to the people living in those countries.
True. I think the big difference is that since the okay, this is an ideological thing. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. That since these changes in 2007, we've seen the biggest drop in democracies around the world. And the United States covertly, the covert purpose of our going into those countries was to make them democracies, whereas Russia's covert or overt purpose, Russia is overtly going in to make these autocracies, not democracies.
No,
I'm not saying we ever achieved democracy in those countries, but I am saying that the goal is opposite. Our goal in the United States is to create democracy. Their goal is to create autocracy.
Our stated goal is to make democracies, but we are actually also making puppet regimes, because when countries actually do democracies and elect the people they want, we then send in covert operations to stage coups and put in people who are pro our corporations.
Yes, that's right.
We don't actually support democracies around the world. We don't even have a democracy here.
True.
We've never yet
I
had
agree.
a democracy here.
I agree on the,
So
on
I
the
don't
one
buy
hand, I
the
agree.
line from both parties that we're spreading democracy around the world. That is not what we're doing. We don't even have it here at home. We are supporting and protecting our corporations' interests around the world. That's what we do as
Right.
the United States.
And
And
that
that is
is
no
the
different
definition.
than any other imperial power throughout history.
That is the definition of fascism. When the government is in bed with the corporation, that is the definition of fascism. And the only more fascist government is Russia, whose oil industry is literally killing the world. And
so is ours.
We have actually a government now. We have changed so that in the United States, this is a fact that was just read in this Changing of the Gods. There's a lot of good information in there. In the United States, 2 of 3 jobs that are focused on energy are now clean energy. So we are, in fact, moving away from the pollution that's killing us all, and that young people and everybody in the world who is aware wants us to get away from. Whereas Russia is 100% dependent, and we are on their oil. Europe is, that's the biggest problem here. Europe is 100% dependent upon Russian oil. And even though Germany has made all these great strides to have solar, they're still dependent upon Russia's pipeline. So a big part of this has to come back to that Uranus-Pluto square, where we go through these huge technological changes. And what has to come out of that technology then has to be taken a look at is, how does it help and how does it harm humanity? And right now, most of the aware world, I'm going to use that language, is trying to move away from oil and gas technology because we know it's killing us.
Okay, I would first I would want to know a little bit more about what they mean by clean energy jobs, because a lot of people talk about clean energy and they're including clean coal and they're including nuclear. And
Could be,
so
yep.
I would want to
It's
dig in a little
concept,
deeper to that.
Again, archetypally, let's look at archetypes rather than the specifics,
But one
because we're
more
talking about
point.
astrology.
The largest polluter, as far as I have ever heard in the world, is the United States military.
I think we have to look at Chernobyl and what's gone on in Afghanistan, and we only have the facts from ourselves. We actually haven't taken a look at what Russia's done. Again, that
Yeah,
is.
I don't know
Yeah,
anything about
exactly.
Russia.
Yeah,
I don't know anything
exactly.
about Russia. I know the United States is an empire and they don't do the things around the world they say they're doing.
I agree, but again, it's a difference between covert and overt. I also believe if we were to invade Mexico, for example, that we should be stopped.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing to do.
Yeah.
All imperialism is bad. It's always bad.
And especially when it's overtly done with people just saying, fuck you, we're going to come in and kill you. They bombed a city the size of Lawrence. They bombed the residential area. They bombed a city the size of Lawrence and killed children.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're not doing bad things too, but the problem with your logic, Kat, is that if you say, well, we do it too, then you're saying it's okay.
No, I'm not.
I'm not saying that at all. Logical conclusion. We all do it. So what?
No, that's not at all what I'm saying.
Then
that's
clarify,
not at all what I'm saying.
Clarify, please clarify, because that's what I hear. When people say we do it too, what I hear them saying is, well, then we don't need to stop Russia. We don't need to do anything about this.
What I'm saying is,
let them do it. Let them die.
I'm saying is, when are we going to stop us? That's what I'm saying.
I don't disagree.
Like the complaints about Russia.
I'm just saying if we don't stop them, what's going on here? It's all good. Everybody just dies. We're not invading a country right now.
No, we do these things covertly. And we bombed Somalia the other day. I bet we bombed a village the size of Lawrence. We take down civilians all the time. I just don't like the bad man Russia thing. I have no problem with the Russian people. I have problems with every oligarch. I don't care where you live. I
have problems with the Russian people.
Yachts blown up.
I have problems with the Russian people. I studied Russian for 5 years. I studied the Russian language for 5 years. And here's the problem I have with the Russian people. We have been since 2007, we know. Since 2007, we have been propagandized through Facebook and Twitter and other organizations. We've been heavily propagandized. Before 2007, the Soviet Union propagandized the people in Russia all that time, so that they have been taught that there is no benefit of living in a democracy. And they've also been taught there is no hope. And there is a reason why the Ukrainians are fighting like fucking hell, not to have Russia take them over, because Stalin murdered through starvation millions and millions of people in Ukraine. Ukraine has been devastated by Russia over and over and over again. And I don't care, Kat. There is nothing that we've done in the United States overtly that has gone in to destroy a people. Nothing. There is not a comparison, not overtly. I'm not disagreeing that we've done covert action. And those are.
What do you call the Iraq war or the Afghanistan war? And how do you not see that Americans, as in USians, have also been propagandized for the past 50, 70 years about how bad Russia and the Soviets are? You know, the fact that a lot of people right now keep referring to the Soviets as opposed to Russia says something about how propagandized the US population is.
But he's trying to reunite the Soviet Union.
That might be.
That's what he's overtly said. And this is his language. This is Putin's language. He's trying to reclaim the old Soviet empire. He wants to be the Tsar.
I've heard that quote, but I've also heard beyond that excerpt of what that quote is. And he says more than that, that doesn't lead me to think that's actually what he wants. But
Well, I highly recommend reading and listening to Timothy Schneider, who has been an expert for, he's a Yale professor. And so he's been an expert in this area and been to Ukraine and Russia for 40 years studying this topic. So he's the guy that I recommend as, getting some knowledge and expertise on what's going on in Russia. And again, I'm not saying, I think that the problem is with equivalence. The problem with equivalence is it negates the horror and the atrocity of what's going on now. Well, we're just as bad, so they should go ahead and get away with it. Why should we stop them?
And I don't know why you go from there just as bad to they should get away with it. Like, that's a huge
That's
leap in
that's the
logic,
language
not what anyone is saying.
That is the language. That's exactly the language that's being used on Fox News and other channels. That's exactly the propaganda that says why Russia should be left alone and why should we care about Ukraine. That's one of the main arguments that they're using.
Well, I don't listen to Fox News.
We're just as bad. We're just as bad as they are. So we might as well just let them get away with it. And to me that, again, we have.
That is surprising that coming from the right, that they're willing to talk about they're talking about the US as an empire.
They're very contradictory, aren't they?
That is strange.
They say some incredibly contradictory. As a matter of fact, I just shared a humorous thing about that was showing all the different ways they speak out of both sides of their mouth.
Yeah.
Russia's terrible. Russia's great. We love Putin. Right. We hate Putin.
Right.
So it's, I don't think that we can look at the right as a serious political group right now.
Yeah. Getting back to the chart, this is very Pluto, Mars, Venus, sextiling Neptune. Because it's all confusion and delusions and back and forth, and we don't know what's going on, and we can't decide, and who's going to decide anyway. And
well, and it comes down to our personal lives too. So someone I know who has friends in Russia told me she talked to two people. One person said, I'm out in the streets. I'm protesting. I don't believe they should have been. I don't believe my country should have invaded Ukraine. I have friends in Ukraine. I do business in Ukraine. I'm out in the streets protesting. And her response to him was, aren't you afraid for your safety? And he said, yes, I'm scared to death that they'll arrest me. I've had family members disappeared before. I am really frightened, but I'm going out anyway to protest.
Yeah.
She talked to another person, another friend of hers, and that friend said, well, a lot of Ukrainians speak Russian.
Yeah.
Maybe, I know war is not good, but, and, don't you guys do the same things that we do? And said exactly that, equivalency. It's okay for us to invade Russia. For Russia to invade Ukraine, because you guys do that all the time. And they speak Russian.
If we just got rid of borders, we wouldn't have these problems.
But then whose resources are they?
They're the people's resources.
Which
I'm
people?
Becoming more of an anarchist.
The affluent people that own.
These past 2 years are making me more of an anarchist. Like, the state just lies to us all the time. And what do they give us?
I think the government, if run correctly, protects us from the oligarchs.
Well, it should.
And if we don't, it's libertarianism that creates oligarchs. As long because the oligarchy is a libertarian mindset. I have the right to do whatever I want, and I don't have to think about my neighbor.
Yeah, I do hate that idea. I really hate that kind of worldview.
Yeah. So, I
like to think about my neighbors personally, because they're my neighbors.
This fight is between the oligarchs and the people. And there's a lot more
between the oligarchs. I don't think the people are involved.
We're out in the streets. There's thousands of people that are walking across the border to Poland right now. Mm-hmm. Hundreds of thousands of people are walking across the border to Poland right now. If there wasn't a border, What would Russia just kill? I mean, would the oligarchs in Russia be able to kill them if there wasn't a border? We can't move beyond borders until we come to a place where we the people have controlled the oligarchs, and that means we the people have to take control of the corporations. Corporations should be owned by the people.
That's right.
Then we get beyond this issue.
Yeah. Down with capitalism. This is a crazy video, Mickey.
I don't know if we can post it. We'll make everybody mad.
I think only 12 people watch it.
That's right. So maybe who cares? Well, I don't know. I think that we're exemplifying, what this thing is about in our discussion, because I love you and your ideas are some of the best ideas I've ever heard. So personally, there's very little disagreement between you and I philosophically on hardly anything.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're both viewing this with different lenses in different directions. And it doesn't mean that either is incorrect.
Right.
Right.
I think there's a pretty big generational difference right now in some of these things.
Yes.
Like I was talking with my mother-in-law about this, and it's like when in previous generations, when you saw your protests change things and the world get slightly better, I think it's going to leave you with a different view on things from like my generation, where like I came of age at 9/11 and things have just been kind of downhill from there.
Well, and that gets back to the 2007 revolution with Pluto and Uranus, when people started monitoring. So back in the 60s, which was the last Pluto-Uranus revolution, people were out protesting in the streets, and Nixon had to do something about it. He was afraid of the hippies. He was as afraid of the hippies as he was of the blacks.
Right.
The blacks and the hippies were getting together. That was not good. And he was trying to do everything he could to subvert that, but he didn't have the technology. In 2007, then they had the technology.
Yeah.
And it's worked, because then they've been able to target people and, do things. But let's get back to the positive. What about the Jupiter? Something's going on here with the Jupiter, Moon, Sun, and pretty soon Jupiter's going to hit Neptune.
Okay, let's see what this symbol says. Oh, Lord. Okay, I don't think I looked up Jupiter, but the moon and the sun, which is our new moon in Pisces, at 12 Pisces, an examination of initiates in the sanctuary of an occult brotherhood. That's 12. We can look at 13 too, which isn't any better. 13 Pisces, a sword used in many battles hangs in a museum.
Like I said, there's a saber rattler that really wants to go back to the glory days.
Yeah.
There's no glory days back there. The positive here to me is that we will move beyond this.
That's right.
What about Saturn and Mercury there? We've got some, tell me about the.
I have to find that again real quick, because I didn't even see that when I looked yesterday.
Right, there's a talking about structures or talking about authoritarians. We are talking about authoritarians.
Saturn, a forest fire quenched, and a large white dove bearing a message. That's Mercury, a large white dove bearing a message.
There you go. That's good. Let's get that.
So Saturn and Mercury might be our most hopeful thing this month.
Yeah.
Quenching a forest fire, like calm the fuck down, people. We all love each other.
It would be really good to see. I mean, there's a huge amount of support and a huge amount of effort being put into stopping the killing. And there's a lot of talk about it, and it could be that the communication has a real impact on this, on this structural change.
I mean, okay, I haven't paid too much attention, but I do hear like these little bits of I like the populist tactical kind of responses, like taking over the radio waves and broadcasting pig sounds or the Ukrainian national anthem, so that the Russian military can't communicate with each other. I love that kind of thing.
And there is a big technology thing. I mean, Elon Musk was going to make sure, I assume he's done this, that they had internet access in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And of course, Putin was going to make sure that they didn't have internet access, or they didn't have Facebook in Russia, because they don't want to.
I heard Twitter shut down in Russia.
Right. And that's because of Putin wanting to make sure that people can't communicate.
Yeah. I gotta say, it's really uncomfortable that like everybody's bank accounts and card systems are shut down in Russia too, just like broad strokes. Nobody gets to get any money from the ATM.
That's right.
Nobody gets to use their credit card. Like, that's really kind of tyrannical.
No, that's not anywhere near as tyrannical as murdering your neighbor and bombing the apartment complex that they live in.
No, it's not.
The Russian people have an obligation here. I know that they didn't elect Putin for the last 25 years. They didn't elect him. That's an autocracy, but they have a responsibility to go out in the streets. You know, I mean, like I said, she talked to two people. One of them was like, all for it. Yeah, bomb Ukraine. And the other one was like, I'm out here protesting against Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is the one going, let's bomb Ukraine, was heavily propagandized.
Yeah, for sure.
And really, the Russian people, maybe where a lot of the responsibility has to fall, because it's their freaking leader.
Okay.
It's like it was our responsibility to have Trump in the world.
Yeah.
Even though Putin put him there. Anyway, you know my opinion here. I'm gonna scoot down and go on here. I'm sorry, you guys. Don't hate me.
We love you, Mickey.
Here's a few more interpretations to take a look at these in just the symbols. One question would be, how can you use faith, and there's Neptune and Jupiter, and belief to improve circumstances? And those circumstances are, you know, all the things that we're talking about in our personal life that are Capricornian, particularly, right?
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm doing?
What?
With faith and belief to improve circumstances? I'm building a new garden bed.
Ooh.
That's what I'm doing. It's very Capricorn.
Planting the seeds.
Planting the seeds. My favorite thing is that grandmother being like, take these sunflower seeds so that sunflowers can grow out of your rotting corpse.
Beautiful. And also that is the national sunflower for the Ukrainians.
It's a blessing, you know? It sounds like a curse, but it's really a blessing upon the land.
It is. That's beautiful.
I'm building a garden bed.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So again, you know, it's a new moon that's conjunct Jupiter. That's a big, powerful moon. That's in generally a positive moon in Pisces. I mean, if it was in a different sign, one might say, well, maybe it's just making things bigger, but that should be making things bigger, better.
Yeah. Did you look up 14? Did you look up Jupiter's sign?
I did. It's a lady wrapped in a large stole of fox fur for protection.
Oh, interesting. So Jupiter's being protective and comforting.
Yeah.
Unless you choose to see a fox fur as like the violence of killing the fox.
Yeah, I don't think that's how Rudyard meant it.
No, probably not.
Yeah, I think he meant it as a you know, comfort.
As a comfort and a luxury and a protection. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is, you know, there's something interesting about these symbols. I'm not sure how to interpret them. Is what's being protected the occult brotherhood, or is what's being protected from the occult brotherhood? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. But we've had this huge Venus-Mars conjunction for literally weeks, and it finally is exact for the third time, again on the 4th and the 5th, or again on the 4th and 5th of March. Again, it's 0 degrees of Aquarius. And
That
if
is a
you-
tumultuous degree.
so
0 degrees Aquarius is the old Adobe mission transitioning into the devastating thunderstorm.
And that's my biggest concern for all of it is there is an ease with the sextile towards sudden passion or war. And Christopher Renstrom, I was listening to him talk about the Faustian bargain. You know what they mean when they talk about a Faustian bargain?
Well, that's like the deal with the devil, yeah?
Right. It's like when you, how he put it like this, you trade, a person trades something of supreme moral or spiritual value, such as their soul, for something of material benefit.
Ew, yeah.
Ew, yeah. So it's pretty icky. I mean, that Faustian bargain is pretty icky. And that's how he is interpreting the Pluto, Venus, Mars conjunction, that there's a Faustian bargain going, something of value. That's why I'm thinking spoils of war, willing to go in with our Martian weapons with ease and take over something we find of value, even though we're hurting people that speak Russian too.
Right. But they speak Russian too.
Yeah. So anyway, there's how does this impact your own life? Again, look at Capricorn. And this is kind of an inflection point over the next few days, but then the Mars and the Venus will move beyond Pluto and will move out of Capricorn. So this too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
The last of this was the Mercury Saturn conjunction, which I thought had some interesting symbols too. Or sorry, yeah, the Mercury Saturn conjunction, the Sabian symbol there at 18 degrees Aquarius, a man's secret motives are being publicly unmasked. And then a forest fire is being subdued by the use of water. That one you read already.
Yeah.
That one, both of those feel both true for what's going on in the United States with the January 6th commission and for what's going on in Russia as Putin's motives are being exposed. I'd like to see the forest fire subdued.
God, it'd be nice if we had a better fire season this year. We've had such terrible fire seasons in recent years.
But back to that 8-11 Uranus and you're planting flowers. Yeah. And how do we personally in our own lives deal with both the personal stress of these issues and the, world stress of these issues? Maybe planting the garden is the best thing to do.
Seriously, honest to God. I mean, with climate change, it might not do all that much in like the long run, but there's something in the soil. If you like, I feel bad for people who can't get to soil, but there's something in the soil that does incredible things for us on and when I say energetic level, I don't mean like spiritual energetic level. I mean like physicality energetic level.
Yeah.
To touch like the whole grounding thing, like that's real.
It is absolutely real. And there's bacteria in the soil that people that work the soil with their hands benefit from that, that being in touch with the earth. You're right. It's much more than spiritually being in touch with it.
Yeah. And it is spiritual too, but.
Right. Well, we still have
get from the earth. So stick your fucking hands in the ground.
Exactly. Let me share one more thing here. And that is, go away. Can't see it. There it is. I want to show the planetary movements calendar.
Oh, fun.
Just so we can see the things move. So this is, we've got a different house system with this. I'm using the whole house system. This is a different system. But here's the Pluto, Mars, Venus.
Yeah.
Here's the Mercury and Saturn conjunction. Here's the Moon, Jupiter, Sun conjunction. And if I move us forward a couple days here, we'll see that things are going beyond. Is it moving?
No,
No, why isn't it moving?
oh no, maybe I just didn't see it. Maybe it's just really slow.
It moved before when I did it. There
There
it
it
goes.
goes. Okay,
Okay, yeah.
okay.
There we go. There's the third. And we see that it's just Venus left to go over
Can
Pluto
you
for
scroll
the
it up a little bit?
final time. Yeah.
Okay,
So
there.
here's can I make it bigger?
No, I don't need it bigger. I just couldn't see the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah. So here's Venus still. Ah, there it is. Here's
Right.
Venus still on the other side of Pluto. And Mars has already passed Pluto.
Right.
Everything is still conjunct here. I mean, they're still within
Right.
minutes of each other. But if we go forward another day or two,
Oh, now we have the Sun and Jupiter conjunct.
we have the Sun and Jupiter conjunct. We have Venus and Mars together on the other side, conjunct on the other side of Pluto.
Oh.
And
And
one
there's
more.
almost a conjunction between the Moon and Chiron.
That's right. That's right. That, you know, for a
That
second
was a
there.
good day.
Yeah.
The fourth. The fourth looks like a good day.
The fourth. And then one more day gives us, there we are. We're both at 0 degrees.
It gives us a trine between Saturn, Mercury, and the Black Moon.
Yep.
Oh.
And Lilith. So we've moved beyond Pluto. Venus and Mars have both moved beyond Pluto. We're in different territory here now. This is a different configuration, but we do have the moon in a bit of an angry configuration with Pluto at this point. But that's a fast moving moon.
Yeah, that's barely there.
The fast moving
It's
moon.
a quick square from Pluto.
Right. So, you know, this could be an intense period of time for the next few days, but
Yeah.
there's something, whatever is going on in your Pisces area of your life.
That's really the main place.
For me, that's my 6th house. And, you know, I've been having fun doing more like, you know, work related 6th house stuff that I, you know, am working with different, you know, people in 6th house related ways, getting out, getting some exercise, health related. So for me, it's my 6th house, Pisces. So that's why I'm talking 6th house. Pisces, what's it for you, Kat? Is that your
My 12th house.
12th house? You've got something good going on there with, you
Do
know.
you think it's good?
I do.
Okay.
Pisces. It's Jupiter and
Jupiter,
at home.
Neptune, and my 12th house. Okay. But I don't know. I get like a little like, like what kind of, that's not going to be bad karma stuff because it's Jupiter, but it could be big delusions stuff.
It could be big delusion. It could be big delusions. And, you know, that is one way of looking at the combination of Jupiter and Neptune. It's also bigger spirituality. It's in the spiritual 12th house.
Yeah.
Talk about planting an interior garden.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Are you writing?
I haven't been, but I should be.
That's for a 12th house configuration. I would say that would be a really nice thing.
I'm going to look real quick at what those symbols are. We have 15 and 16.
Yeah.
Oh, an officer drilling his men in a simulated attack. Oh, no, this is better. 15, 16. In a quiet moment, a creative individual experiences the flow of inspiration.
There we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's the motif I want to feel.
Yeah. You feel that in your 6th house. I'll feel that in my 12th.
Right. And
there you go, everybody. One more time, coming up over the next few days as the sun moves out of the new moon and into a conjunction transit with Jupiter, coming up on Neptune. Your thing to remember is, in a quiet moment, a creative individual experiences the flow of inspiration.
Absolutely. That's what we want. What's 22 Neptune?
A prophet bringing down new law from Mount Sinai.
Ooh, interesting.
Or a materializing medium giving a seance.
Let me go forward just a couple more days. I'm curious now when it conjuncts with, when the Jupiter conjunct. It's probably in April.
When Jupiter conjuncts Neptune?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that'll be a ways away.
it's not very far, but here we're at March 13th. Oh, we're almost there. I mean, we're within 5 degrees now
Yeah.
on the 14th. And they stay within 5 degrees. So in fact, Jupiter and Neptune aren't in a quick little conjunction. You know, Neptune is very slow moving and Jupiter is not all that quick, though it's moving fast. For
Right.
Jupiter, it's moving fast, you know, through Pisces. But look at here, they're conjunct for a week or more
Yeah.
within 5 degree orb.
Yeah. And there'll be a full moon that's opposite them.
I think you're exactly right, because now here we get into, right, they'll be conjunct when that full moon is, and there we are.
Yeah.
I went too far. There it is. So we're March 23rd.
At 23 degrees.
Oh wait, no, it's Mercury's conjunct to Neptune. Jupiter's still within a 5 degree orb,
Oh, yeah, okay.
but we have Mercury sandwiched between them. So,
And a trine between Chiron and the moon.
right.
Oh, that'll be a good day. What's that? The solstice? The equinox?
Yep.
Nice.
Just a day too
Okay.
fast. Let me go one more. I'm just trying to find that date of the actual conjunction. It's not far. There we go. Now we're almost conjunct.
Almost. So close.
So close. One more degree.
Look at it move. Go, Jupiter, go.
Go, Jupiter, go. There we
There
are.
it is.
So it is. It's April 8th.
April 8th.
April 8th. They're conjunct. So, and we've got some
the
nice,
purging of the priesthood.
We like that one.
We do like that one. Good things happen at the purging. I mean, terrible, terrible, terrible things happen at the purging of the priesthood. But
The benefit in the
ideally,
long run.
if I were of a different generation, those terrible things might lead to good things.
So this is what we have to look forward to. I think that there's a real, you know, this is definitely it not only bigger delusions, but bigger faith, bigger wonder, a possibility for, you know, bigger visions and seeing our way out of many of our dilemmas.
What is it in, what's at the bottom of the chart? I can't see it.
Lilith,
The moon.
yeah,
The
Lilith
moon
right
and
at the
Lilith,
very
okay.
bottom of the chart, and the moon's just gone by.
Yeah.
So they ended, you know, that closing, changing of the gods with Richard Tarnas, Cosmos of the Psyche, that number 8, when the 8th in the series, which is, I think there's only 9 of them in there. They ended on a really positive note by talking about the new technology that's emerging from this last, you know, Uranus-Pluto square, and biomimicry was one of the things that they talked about, and how they're using it to,
What
you know,
does that
clean up
mean?
it. You know, I have to research it more. It's using nature, how nature works, to make technology that doesn't destroy, but instead sustains.
Right? It's like
So
the biggest problem with European Enlightenment thought was separating people from nature and thinking that we could control it and we were above it. And I guess it's not just Enlightenment, it's like biblical interpretations. It seemed like it got really bad in the Enlightenment period.
yeah, well, and they trace that in the changing of the gods as it goes through all the different technology innovations because of Pluto Uranus configurations.
Yeah.
The Uranus Pluto, not because of, Uranus Pluto tracks with,
Correlated to.
correlates with all these technological innovations. And until now, we'll see, those technology innovations have all ended in a chaos and negative things for the earth in many ways,
Mhm.
you know, because a lot of it had to do with, was all fueled by oil and gas.
Right.
So here we are at
Extractive things.
yeah, there is a potential really positive new vision that we can have based on technology being used to clean things up as opposed to, you know, just dig things up
To
and
get back.
right, right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of positive options here that I think we're going to see with this Jupiter Neptune. I think there's good things coming, and I'm hopeful. I am an optimist.
It's always both and.
It's always both and. It's always both and. Thank you for an exciting and interesting argument.
Yeah.
I hope our 12 people that watch us occasionally are not offended, and we'll go ahead
I
and put
don't
it up
care if
anyway.
they're
What the
offended.
heck? We hope you enjoy it. We hope it enlightens you. I hope you don't hate me. And
Apologies for getting out of our expertise and being like any other person in the world.
that's right.
Talking about things that they don't really know a whole lot about. I don't know, at least me. I'm not talking about you, Vicky, but I don't know anything about Russia. I just know the
Well,
US is an empire. And I know that people don't like it when I say that.
I'm not an expert and I don't disagree with you. So,
Love you.
I love you too. And you guys have a wonderful new moon. Highlight that Pisces area of your heart and enjoy the Jupiter Neptune coming
Yeah, it's
conjunction.
dreamy. Be
It is
dreamy
dreamy.
with your feet on the ground
That's right.
in the
Bye, you
dirt.
guys.
Bye.